For those of you I have not had the opportunity to meet today, my name is Eric Weinheimer. I am the CEO of Forefront, and on behalf of my colleagues at Forefront, we are delighted that you have chosen to spend your lunch time with us. We have a wonderful program set for you today. I'm sure that all of us in this room, I'm sure that we understand the importance of the elevator pitch. Ah, yes, the all-important elevator pitch. That 30-second window when you have to describe the breadth, the depth, the impact of your organization, whether you're a grant maker, a nonprofit, a social enterprise, it doesn't matter. But you must describe all of that in a short, pithy little soundbite that's going to captivate and engage new funders, new volunteers, new partners. We sweat about that elevator pitch. Well, as you can imagine, at Forefront, I use the elevator pitch often. Sometimes I do it better than others. Case in point, I was at a cocktail party a while back, and I was standing around talking to some folks, just met them, didn't know them, this gentleman and these few ladies, and they didn't know much about our sector. They didn't know much about what was Donors Forum. This gentleman says to me, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "I work at Forefront." He says, "What is Forefront?" Cue the elevator pitch. Kind of get that little glimmer in my eye, smile. Well, Forefront is the only regional association in the United States that represents grant makers, nonprofits, their advisors, and others. And we bring these groups together. We provide education and advocacy and project management services so that we all can do our best work and maximize our impact. Thank you. Thank you. I have been practicing that in front of the mirror for the past week, as you can imagine. And I thought it flowed really nicely. And usually when I share the elevator pitch, people, they nod politely. But there was this gentleman in this group that he was a curious guy. And he was a no-nonsense guy. And he wanted to learn more. And he said, so you educate nonprofits? I said, well, yes, we do. I said, we are a capacity builder that, and before I could finish my sentence, he cut me off. A what? You know, a capacity builder. We teach best practices about fundraising, advocacy, evaluation, and other issues. He said, what do you mean by best practices? Now I'm kind of getting a little sweaty here because I'm thinking, oh man, this isn't going where I want it to go. I'm saying, well, you know, evidence-based models that are proven to be effective for people in the social impact sector. And as I say the word social impact sector, I'm like, oh my God, I've gone down the jargon hole. And he's kind of looking at me, and then I start to scramble. I'm like, well, you know, we're building ecosystems and building networks, and we're a backbone organization. I'm just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this guy. And he's looking at me like I'm like a dog reacts when they don't understand. They're kind of tilting their head. I failed the elevator pitch test. And I was irritated with myself because I didn't engage this guy in a way that he could understand. I didn't engage him. A few days later, I had the pleasure of attending one of our member issue groups. We have 26 member issue groups at Forefront. And I had the pleasure of attending the Healthcare Affinity group, which is a group of grant makers who are focusing on healthcare to provide access to all in the healthcare field. And this group has been learning together for many years at Forefront. And now they're ready to move into action. And they want to move into action about some pressing healthcare issue. And so they're working with Forefront to see how we can help them move into action. And we had this first meeting that I participated in it. And it was a great meeting. There was energy. There was a lot of brainstorming. There were action steps that we identified to go to the next level. And it was just a great meeting. There was a woman at this meeting who is not part of this group, but she was an observer. She's new to Forefront. She was an observer. And the next day, she wrote me an email about that meeting. She wrote, as a mother of 2 children with special needs, I so appreciate what this group is trying to accomplish. The realization that there are actually people of power who aren't just sitting in a cozy office, but who are looking to act together and make real change. At that meeting, I could see a brighter, easier, and more accessible healthcare system for my children in their adult lives when I am not here to care for them anymore. I was very humbled by the meeting. It's not an elevator pitch, this email, but it captured the essence of Forefront far better than I did with that gentleman the other day. And the two key words in that email, act together. People coming together to act. And I love how the simplicity and yet the power of those two words. Because you see, at Forefront, we wake up every day obsessed with how we engage new voices and diverse perspectives so that, yes, we continue to learn together, but more importantly, how do we act together? How do we scale our collective impact so that we can affect the lives not just of tens or hundreds of thousands of people, but for millions of people, and not just for today or for the next generation, but for generations to come? That is why at Forefront, acting together with our members, we created our individual giving campaign, I'll Give, which this year is sponsored by our friends from the Coleman Foundation. This is an exciting initiative, I'll Give, that we just started a couple years ago, and now we're ready to take off. And so on November 29th, 2016, Giving Tuesday, Forefront is going to help, through I'll Give, Forefront is going to help over 700 nonprofits from across the state of Illinois to raise over $9 million from new individual donors. Here today at this lunch, thank you. And the emphasis is on the new individual donors to engage more of individual philanthropy into the important work that we all are doing. Today joining us is our friends from the Coleman Foundation, Rosa Berardi and Clark McCain, and 8 of their grantees who participated in I'll Give last year. Would you all stand? Now, okay, over here, this is the genius factor over here, right? Please give them a round of applause. Now stay standing if you will. Now you can't see their faces, so you're probably like, I don't know who they are, but go in that direction and find those people. Because these 8 nonprofits, last year they participated in I'll Give, and they attracted more individual donors than they expected, and they received the maximum matching grant from the Coleman Foundation. And so they have something that the rest of us could use, and that is the experience and the knowledge about how they made that happen. And so my ask of all of you here today is if you're a grant maker and you want to get involved in I'll Give and provide matching grants so that your grantees can attract more individual donors, if you're a nonprofit that wants to diversify your funding base, if you are a corporation that wants to get involved in this very exciting campaign that I'm telling you is going to take off, mark my words, 2 years from now, you'll be like, wow. Please see Clark, see Rosa, just go over into that dark area over there and find one of those people and get engaged. Or please talk to one of our staff members on the way out. Another example of us acting together is our Nonprofit Sustainability Initiative. Now, how's that for jargon? You gotta love that jargon. If I had said that with that man, he probably would have thrown his drink at me. But this is a great initiative. And it's cross-sector, as you can see from the scan. It's cross-sector, all of these different sectors and these organizations coming together, including nonprofits, to help nonprofits thoughtfully consider strategic partnerships, collaborations, and mergers so they can further their mission, particularly in light of what's going on in our chaotic environment. And what I love about this initiative is that it's the brainchild of 2 individuals who are brand new to Forefront, who reached out to us and said, how can I help? And so God knows if we can see them, that would be great. But John Box from Sidley and Brooke Cunningham from Blizzard, where are you? There's John Box. There's Brooke Cunningham. Outstanding. So stay standing if you would, because I want people to see your dark silhouettes. But these 2 folks, they came to us and said, hey, how can we help? How can we share our resources, our talents? How can we leverage our networks to help nonprofits consider strategic partnerships as a tool to further mission? And so if you're interested in getting involved, please see John, please see Brooke, or certainly one of our staff at Forefront. Thank you 2 very much. Our final example of how we're acting together at Forefront is our Social Innovation Roundtable. This is this, again, multi-sector group that is coming together to coordinate all of the fragmented conversations and working groups around impact investing and social enterprise and new social finance models. There's so much happening in our city. There's so much happening in our state. The problem is, folks, we're not talking to each other. We're not coordinated. We're all in our own little silos. And so how can Forefront become a hub where all this comes together, in which we are coordinating and we are more efficient, and we are ultimately creating a marketplace that is transparent, that is accessible to impact investors, social entrepreneurs, and others. So our good friend Pete Willem is here. Where's Pete? Where's Pete? There he is. There he is, right under the light. Perfect. Pete Willem is one of our leaders of this group. If you want to learn more, please go see Pete. Or again, you can see me or one of our staff members on your way out. Thanks to Pete for your leadership. This is just some of the new work that we've been doing at Forefront over the past year and a half. But it would not have been possible without our leadership, the leadership from our chairman, Mr. Don Cooke. Where are you, Don Cooke? I can't see you. There's Don Cooke right there. So you might be wondering, some of you who don't know Don as well as others, like, who is this guy? Why are we honoring him? But for me, Don, you are like that woman who wrote that email. Your family's laughing at you. I don't know why. But you are like that woman who wrote that email because you get it. You understand. You get the tremendous potential that resides within each one of us, the tremendous potential that resides within each organization, whether they be a grant maker or a nonprofit or whatever, but the potential that resides within us when we get out of our silos and we choose to act together with others for a common cause. I, like many in this room, I've admired you, Don, for a number of years because you're a nonprofit guy who is a phenomenal fundraiser. And you cleverly worked your way into becoming a leader of one of the nation's premier foundations. That's like a fox getting into the hen house, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, brilliant. And as a result, Don, you bring this diverse experience and perspective of the nonprofit world, for the philanthropic world, and you have the credibility, and you use that credibility to encourage others with diverse perspectives to find common ground and understanding. And God knows we need that now in our world more than ever. You're also a guy, Don Cooke, who does not use jargon. You've never used the term social impact sector. And when you're at a meeting with Don, it's a little uncomfortable, but it's very refreshing because he's the guy in the room who says the things that we're all thinking but are afraid to say. Don says it. Or he says the things that people need to hear but don't want to hear. He says it. But you say it in a way that's supportive and is productive and moves the conversation forward. And finally, Don, we're honoring you because you are passionate and committed about mission. You could have been an astrophysicist, for crying out loud. I mean, talk about cool. Instead, you came over into the nonprofit sector, and you're passionate about mission, whether it be Forefront, where you've been so engaged and so invested for so many years, or whether it be your trailblazing work with Michelle Obama in the VA to reintegrate veterans back into their families and their communities, or whether it be your leadership here locally to help combat youth violence in Chicago, or whether it be your work at the McCormick Foundation to preserve the legacy of Colonel McCormick, whatever it is, you invest your whole self. You're passionate about mission, and quite frankly, we can't say that about everybody in our sector. So Don Cooke, the new Forefront, is here today in large part because of your leadership. We thank you. We congratulate you. We honor you. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Cooke.